So I, 29 female, have been married to my husband for 8 years. About 2 months ago I had my third loss, 31 weeks. About 4 months ago my sister-in-law, 20, came crying at our doorstep, telling us she was pregnant and her boyfriend didn't want anything to do with the pregnancy and had nowhere to go. My husband and I openly took her in and welcomed her into our home with open arms. It was hard for her for the first few weeks, understandably. I sat with her for hours, holding her when she cried, binging our favourite TV shows, eating so much ice cream and falling into a food coma. It was really bonding for us, so I thought. It starts going downhill here. I take pride in my neat, clean home. My sister-in-law, on the other hand, did not. She would leave her clothes all around the house and dirty dishes wherever, even going as far as leaving her toys on our living room table. I tried to talk to her directly before I spoke to my husband, but she immediately started crying and told me I should try to be cleaner. I hugged her and told her it was okay, but this was a clear boundary for me. She told me it wouldn't happen again, but it only got worse. She told me I was expected to do her laundry dishes and clean her room daily because she's the pregnant one. I understand how hard it is to be pregnant, I just couldn't feel like a maid in my home. Disclaimer, I bought this house, not my husband, it was all me, not to mention my recent loss. So I told my husband, but what he told me shocked me. His exact words were, "Honey, she's going through a lot right now, we should be helping her. Plus, it might make you feel better to care for someone pregnant." I was angry, to say the least. Make me feel better? She's going through a lot. Do we need to help her? Letting her stay with us wasn't enough. While I don't want to invalidate her pain, my husband and I were also going through our own problems. Anyway, we moved on and I did my best to maintain work and the household chores. My husband works 7 a.m. to 7 p.m, so he isn't around to help much. I work full-time from home, so it's been super stressful. When I even try to ask for help from my sister-in-law, she always makes an excuse, even if she's watching TV. The one thing that pushed me over the edge was I went out to buy the food I enjoyed eating after my loss. I wrote my name on it and asked my sister-in-law not to eat it. Well, I went to go to my fridge to get it, and you'll never guess, she freaking ate it. Now you may think it's just food. I buy all the groceries and basically pay all the bills. I don't mind people having some of my food, but the one thing I asked to not be touched gets touched. I told my husband, and he rubbed it into my face that she was pregnant. I need to be less selfish, and life is about sacrifices. I was so upset I told him I felt like he and she were the horrible roommates people talk about. He didn't take that well, LOL. My sister-in-law planned a random baby shower party thing at my house. I didn't know if I could even be at home when this happened. I felt so hurt that she wouldn't talk to me knowing everything that had happened and that she would just invite random strangers into another person's home before asking. My husband urged me to go and I told him it would permanently affect mine and her relationship. So I told him I'd go. About halfway through the party, my husband and sister-in-law announced they wanted to show the nursery to everyone. I was confused. Nursery? Was she staying that long? What room did she turn into a nursery? They told everyone to head upstairs and that's when it hit me. They were talking about my nursery for my baby I had just lost. A wave of emotions hit me when I saw everyone in my baby's nursery telling her what a good job they did setting it up. My setup. For my baby that my body failed to give me. I just lost it. I started sobbing and then that sadness turned into pure rage. I started yelling at my sister-in-law, telling her that she was the foulest human for putting me through everything she had for the last few months, making me feel like I was a maid or an object for her convenience. Through choked-up tears, I turned to my husband, whose jaw was on the floor. I turned my head to see his entire family just staring at me. I lost it again. Yelling, I looked at my sister-in-law, telling her, how dare she use my nursery for my baby? How dare she think she has the right? What she told me made me fall to my knees sobbing. It's not my fault you couldn't produce a child. Why let this go to waste? You're so selfish. My husband tried to pick me up off the floor, but I yelled again and I told him, pick me or her. He couldn't even muster up anything to say. I just looked at him. Pure betrayal. I pushed past the crowd of family and ran straight up to the bedroom to type this out. Currently, my husband's entire family is sitting downstairs. Am I the idiot for yelling at my pregnant sister-in-law and telling my husband to choose me or her? OP, I'm sorry to say, but your husband has already chosen your sister-in-law again and again. You need to kick them both out ASAP and focus on healing. That family is toxic as heck, and if you stay with your husband, you will be dragged down and taken advantage of repeatedly until you are a shell of yourself. I've seen it happen to some incredibly kind, amazing women. They let a few rude comments go and then forgive some mistakes because they feel they've made a commitment and need to be the bigger person. Then they get beaten down mentally and emotionally, if not physically, to the point where that's their norm, and it's all they know. You have no kids yet with this man. He's shown where his loyalties and priorities lie, and it's not with you. Get out now while you can. You're not the idiot and never were. Good luck, OP. I 100% agree. That's quite possibly the meanest, most hurtful, disrespectful thing I've seen on here yet. The betrayal of those words your sister-in-law said to you while standing in your nursery are awful, vile and disgusting. I feel like your husband and his sister are not done yet. Something tells me that another thing is coming, even bigger than the nursery. I'm so sorry, OP, for all you've been through. Kick her and your pathetic excuse for her husband out ASAP. Do you think they'll ask for her to stay and co-parent, or make OP leave her own house? I'm starting to wonder if OP's husband is getting so defensive over his sister because he sees this as a chance to replace the baby they lost. I'm not excusing him because he's allowing his sister to treat his wife like crap, but it feels like an unhealthy coping mechanism. He will take this baby as if he's dad, keep sis in the house forever, and OP can be the third wheel to clean up after the kid. Update. Am I the idiot for telling my husband to choose me or her? Here's the update everyone's been asking for. Buckle up, it's a long one. I sat on my bed wiping my tears and telling myself I would not take this disrespect. I walked downstairs, shutting my nursery door. On the way, I was greeted by everyone comforting my sister-in-law. I kindly asked everyone besides my sister-in-law and husband to respectfully get the heck out of my house. After all the dirty looks and shaming, it was just my husband, sister-in-law, and myself. They sat themselves on the couch, not saying anything. I sat with them. The silence felt like forever. None of us had anything to say. I knew I'd have to start the conversation. I looked at my husband and said, "Did you decide?" He looked at me, just staring. I asked again in a firm tone this time. He ended up mumbling some insults, and I couldn't really make out what he said. Something, "you were witchy." I stood up and told them both to get out, and they wanted to talk. Telling me this was all a misunderstanding, they are sorry, blah blah blah. I grabbed a backpack from my shoe closet and told them to pack their crap. My sister-in-law told me I couldn't just make her leave and I was horrible. I laughed in her face and I told her this is my house and I can do whatever I wanted. My husband stood beside me and told her it was only for a little while. I turned to him and said, "Oh, you two, get out." He got mad and told me we were a married couple and that this isn't how marriage works. I told him no, it's not. Marriage is where two people support each other and not treat their wife like crap. They both ended up leaving after many insults towards me. Oh, but wait, it's not over. This morning, as I was getting ready for a Zoom meeting with a few other co-workers, my husband showed up. I led him in, telling him to get whatever he needed and to go because I had to work. He started apologizing and telling me he wanted to make it right. I told him I just needed time away from him. Then he threw in my face, "Well, it's not my fault you lost our children. Maybe this would have never happened. My sister was right, you are selfish." I have never ever made my husband feel like he cannot grieve with me over this. Never made him feel less than because of his pain. I turned around and slapped him in the face. I never condone such behavior and I'm very upset I would ever do that to another human, but I just couldn't deal with this. He took a step back and threw all of my makeup on the floor, which I get, but then broke all of my decor in the bathroom. I yelled at him to stop and that I was sorry, but he just kept going and punched a hole in my bathroom wall. It was like I was seeing all of his bottled up emotions come out. But I told him to get the heck out. He left the bathroom and I watched him break a few more items as he left. The second he left, I had a panic attack looking at the mess he made. I called my mother and told her everything that had been happening. I don't talk to my family much due to some past trauma with them. She told me she was on her way. I just broke down the second she got here and she held me. Then she stood up and started taking pictures of everything he broke. I asked her what she was doing and she turned to me and said, "We're suing this piece of crap." I honestly didn't even argue. I was so hurt by everything my husband did to me. My mom packed up my computer and I grabbed a few outfits. My mom and I drove to a hotel and she insisted on staying with me. While I finished up work, my mom called a locksmith and my attorney. I will be divorcing him as well. So, there it is. I feel guilty for just giving up on my husband and 8 years of our marriage, but it's time for a divorce. I can't live like this, and neither can my husband. I wish I could say we moved on, forgave each other, and I got to see my sister-in-law have her baby, but that's not the reality. Thank you guys for the support and help with this situation. Just wow, what a story. I'm so very sorry for everything you've been through over the past few days. It's all completely devastating, and I'm so glad your mother could see past any family drama and be there for you in such an important way right now. I mainly want you to know that you are so strong for this. You are so strong for truly prioritizing your mental health and not giving in when everyone called you selfish. We're all with you right now. We're all giving you hugs while you mourn, and we're all rooting for you to recover from this stronger than ever. My older brother is getting married in 3 months. Last minute thing, I'm very happy for him. My twin sister just had her first baby and as such is breastfeeding. Baby will still be 100% breastfed if all goes to plan by the time the wedding happens. My brother and soon-to-be wife don't want any kids under 10 at the wedding, but the bride's sister's infant is allowed to attend. We assumed my sister would be allowed too, so we didn't really question it. The babies are the same age. Last week, my brother corrected us and said our nephew wasn't invited. He didn't specify past that for a bit. Still, he later revealed that it's because they don't want her breastfeeding and attracting attention. My sister doesn't think she can attend, so he said that was fine, they wouldn't account for her. She got really upset, later blamed it on hormones, but she's always looked up to him, so I think it meant more to her than she's saying. So basically, she's no longer invited to the wedding. I later informed my brother that he could take me off the invited list too, because I wouldn't be attending without my sister and nephew. Word got out among our family, and the 2 younger siblings have also decided they aren't going now. It's created a situation, as you can imagine. Our brother is angry as all heck. He's calling me and telling me I've ruined his big day, begged me to speak to the younger 2, asked me to attend, etc. I've always been firm in my no. Our parents stepped in and are doing the whole, you need to support your brother, blah blah. No one, aside from the 3 siblings who also aren't attending, is on my side. I thought it was because my brother is just the favourite, oldest golden child, but now I'm wondering if I was seriously out of line. Am I the idiot? Was I a royal idiot, or was it deserved? Not the idiot. It's not fair her sister's baby is welcome and your sister's baby isn't. And does your brother really think she'll be nursing at the dinner table? Most moms don't even want to nurse in public. I imagine the accommodation will be more than happy to find her a quiet room to nurse her baby. And they invited soon-to-be sister-in-law with a baby anyway, so it's not like they don't already have to take care of those accommodations. There's literally no extra work in inviting OP's sister. They're willing to make an exception for the bride's sister, but not the groom's. Hope the baby from the bride's family spits up on the bride and groom. They're willing to make an exception for the bride's sister, probably because the bride's sister doesn't breastfeed, so the bride won't have to worry that her boobs will be the center of attention. There are 100 ways to nurse in public without putting your boobs on the table, from using a nursing cover or light scarf to wearing a nursing dress specifically designed to nurse in public without exposing yourself to going to a different room. Calling the behavior of the bride and groom out is absolutely right. I'm at a college in the US as an international student. One girl I know at said college happens to be really into my country of origin, the culture, the music, the TV shows, etc., and wants to study abroad there. She asked me many questions about my country and sees me as the guy from X country with the associated stereotypes, which is annoying, but otherwise she's okay. One issue is that she's a bit on the chubby side by US standards and is extremely sensitive about people pointing it out for shaming her. My country tends to have much skinnier people than the US and the standards tend to be stringent. So, if she's considered chubby in the US, you can imagine what people in my home country would think. Said country can be incredibly shallow with physical appearances and blunt when talking about them, so it's almost guaranteed that she will be seen as overweight, and comments will be made about it. I've seen it happen to girls way skinnier than her who'd be considered stick thin in the US. So when she asked me about my country and what her experience would be like in the said country, I explained the pros and cons. One of the cons was that there's extreme weight watching and it's considered perfectly socially acceptable to comment on and make jokes at the expense of people's weight. I said this because I wanted her to have this info before deciding to study abroad there, so she doesn't potentially put herself in an upsetting or traumatic experience, but she instead got offended and said I'm an idiot for implying she's fat. I replied that it's just standards are different, so even though she's not fat, she could be perceived that way because my country's standards are insane. She was still angry and walked away. Am I in the wrong here? I could have gone about this better, but I do think my intention was good. Not the idiot. You told her the truth. You didn't criticize her weight, you gave her the answer to her question. If you're talking about South Korea, you're correct. They even put pressure on thin K-pop idols to go on diets, male and female. But it's her life, and she'll find pros and cons any place she goes as a foreigner. I lived in Indonesia with my sister. The shopkeepers on our street would call my sister the beautiful one and me the fat one. I went to get a massage once, and the masseurs talked in Indonesian to the other masseurs about how fat I'd gotten since I started coming there while she was massaging me. I remember thinking, why did I bother to learn this language when I just get insulted in it? And I'm not even overweight. You did well to warn your friend. She sounds pretty annoying and even borderline racist, the way she treats you as a representative of your culture instead of just another human being. Would it be so bad if she didn't want to be close friends anymore? You were telling her the truth of the matter. If she can't handle this, she won't be able to handle a culture that values extreme thinness. It's not your fault that it didn't fit her narrative.